Hi, this is Dr. Michele Fiala of Ohio University in Athens, Ohio. Thank you for joining me today as I discuss and teach Ferling number 7. This is a common oboe etude and is also part of the Louisiana All-State etudes for this year, 2015-2016. Before you practice this etude, I suggest that you warm up on some E minor arpeggi. For instance, the opening and the closing of this etude are E minor arpeggi. So you could put a drone on E and play E's, G's, and B's, particularly the ones that open and close this etude. You notice that the high E tends to be sharp on the oboe, and we have to bring it down. So that's part of practicing this, is that you will not always hit the note perfectly in tune, but you will go very slowly and you will bring the note into tune. And the fingering for the high E that I suggest is the standard thumb octave, half hole, 2, 3, left hand, A flat and E flat, and 2 and 3 on your right hand. It is also advisable to practice the trills in this piece, evening them out. The D sharp to E trill, you will use your left hand D sharp and wiggle your ring finger of your right hand. At the end of the first line is another trill from F sharp to G, which is simple. But play that also and make sure that it matches the D sharp to E in speed and quality. And then in the last line you have two trills, the E to F sharp, and the high C. You can use either this key on your right hand or the top of the trill keys on your left hand. Let's now talk about the phrasing in this. This has a somber mood to it. And the phrases can be deceptive because there are often rests during a phrase. For instance, just the first two bars alone would not be a phrase, even though there's an eighth rest after that. It's not a complete enough musical idea. So I want you to continue your thinking and continue driving all the way into the downbeat of measure 4, like this. Notice that this is an incomplete phrase and it needs to continue like so. The next phrase has another one of these rests in the middle of it. So the next two bars alone are not a phrase. It continues and it gets more intense as the phrase goes on. It starts out in the somber mood and gets a little bit agitated. Continues. And then I think that you should make a stark contrast here between that forte and the sudden piano that starts, these little murmuring ideas here. Those downward slurs could be difficult, but if you practice them first by establishing the low note beautifully, for instance in the octave leap between the G, the upper G and the lower G, I would practice the G first and then add the octave key. Once I see how well the upper G comes out when I'm round and supported well, thinking about blowing out the candles, that feeling of my abdominal muscles and lower back muscles driving the air quickly. And I see that the high upper note comes out very well when I'm thinking about the lower note. So then I can just release my octave key and go right back down to the lower note. This even works in the very large intervals from the low D sharp up to the A. So we practice them in reverse and then the way they're written. And I'm thinking of the low notes the entire time so that I stay open and up in my embouchure, I stay round, and I still stay well supported through that passage. And then we continue with some large leaps here on the passage starting on the high D sharp, and I suggest this D sharp fingering, half hold 2, 3, low B key 2 and 3, the standard fingering, followed by an E fingering on which you get the A flat and E flat on the right hand side. So there we've had a cadence or an ending point, but then we continue. We have some cadential extension toward the end. I hope that these phrasing and technical ideas help you to prepare this etude. Please stay in touch with me and let me know how your audition goes. Thank you for joining me. Please join me for part 2, in which I discuss Ferling number 10. And if you would like to hear a complete performance of Ferling number 7 without stopping, I recommend my colleague Erin Hill's excellent videos on the Ferling Etudes. Thank you. Again, I'm Dr. Michele Fiala of Ohio University.